A firefighter who died from using an expired fire extinguisher during a 2019 training session at the Nova Scotia Firefighter School has resurfaced the news, and it has raised concern about the equipment that led to his death. Having a fire extinguisher is one of the single most important things you can do to reduce the risk of house fires dramatically. In spite of this, as many as 25% of homeowners don't even own one, and even more have fire extinguishers that have expired. In order to prevent injury and death from fires, Health Canada recommends having a clear escape plan, a suitable number of smoke alarms in working order, and a working fire extinguisher. I'm now joined by Toronto Fire Services Division Chief of Public Education and Professional Development, Marla Friebe. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, how many smoke alarms should a family home consist of, and how frequently should they be tested?
Well, the Ontario Fire Code mandates that families living in residential homes must have a fire smoke alarm actually on every level of their home. So that means if you have a two-story home, you have a smoke alarm on your main level, on your second level, and an additional one in the basement. It's most important that these smoke alarms are placed where family can hear them, especially when they're asleep. And that's why it's also mandated that a smoke alarm is basically placed near any sleeping area. So one on every level is the minimum.
Now, in regard to fire extinguishers, what are things people should look for when buying a fire extinguisher, and where should they be stored in a home?
In terms of fire extinguishers, Toronto Fire Services doesn't really mandate their use. They're nice to have in the home if you do have a kitchen fire. However, a lot of people don't actually take the time to read the manufacturer's instructions and really get familiar with what's required to use them. When we're talking about a stovetop fire, that's about the smallest type of fire that you should be able to effectively put out with an extinguisher, or that may be in a waste paper basket. There are other methods that can be used in the home to put out fires, a simple one just being the lid to a stovetop pan. So when you have that stovetop fire, effectively reaching for the lid, placing it on top of the pan will actually do the same job as that of a fire extinguisher. You're essentially taking away the oxygen that a fire requires in order to burn. Another thing that we like to remind people that have extinguishers in the home is that they need to be maintained. So maintenance is key. And a lot of people don't take that time. They have the extinguisher, they place it somewhere in the home, they forget to have it maintained, or maybe they even use it once and they place it back in maybe underneath their kitchen sink again, and they forget that the next time they need it, they don't have a fully charged extinguisher waiting for them.
Now, using an extinguisher can be a little intimidating, especially in the instance of an emergency. Is there a way to help people remember how to properly use it and when the right time to use a fire extinguisher is?
Well, again, being familiar with how to use it ahead of time is key. So maybe going on our website and reading about how to use a fire extinguisher effectively, remembering that as long as it's fully charged and that you're using an extinguisher that's rated for the size of the fire. So for example, there's 4 different kinds of fires, A, B, C, and D. An A-type fire is just regular combustibles. B is flammable liquids or gases. C is electricity. And D is flammable minerals, essentially. So you need to make sure that you have the extinguisher that matches the type of fire that you're putting out. An ABC multi-purpose extinguisher is a good one to purchase for the home because it covers you off on the A, B, and C types of fires. So
Now,
that would be the first.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to also mention that reading the manufacturer's instructions, knowing that you have to pull the pin first, then you have to aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. You need to squeeze the nozzle so that it effectively releases the extinguishing agent, and then sweeping from left to right, covering the base of the fire should allow you to put that fire out.
Now, we do just have under a minute here, but I do want to know, are there any other products that you would recommend for people to have in their home that aren't as commonly talked about?
One of the key things, other than smoke alarms, because that's the basic piece of equipment that one must have in their home, would be carbon monoxide alarms. Now, they don't put out fires, but they do prevent for you from suffering the toxic effects of breathing in carbon monoxide, which our blood loves. And when these are basically byproducts of incomplete combustion. So if you have a gas stove, gas fireplace, or even attached garage, you are at risk of having carbon monoxide in the home. Having a carbon monoxide alarm on every level of your home will give you that early warning that you need if in fact you have carbon monoxide present.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.